Highly gifted, my jacket's thrifted. Watch me get a pattern shifted, just acting different. Living in my minutes, I'm catalytic. That's why they love to jack the style like it's on a Civic.
Welcome back to episode 16, where we're going to continuously speak about, or are going to continue speaking about assessments. And they are not just grades. They're not just need to pass, need to fail. You can see that by investing in assessments, it's going to get you closer to your goal. A goal not to get the certificate, a goal to make a future for yourself. So as we speak through this podcast, we're speaking about being future ready, right? The idea is then participate in these moments because future Grant's going to thank you.
Yes, because he's ready.
Because he's ready. Yeah, so, and he's also put in, to your point, the waiting.
Yes.
Right, so that he doesn't have to now try to figure out what the summative has to be to get to that pass mark. You're good.
Yes.
You're good. You're working
Correct.
towards it. Everything's smooth-ish.
So part of that, being future ready, being prepared for the moment, is also back to our earlier conversations around the average 8 hours a week on a module.
Yeah.
The idea with the summative is if you participated according to the teaching plan preceding the moment, all the teaching and learning and formatives have transpired. It takes the angst out, but it also means there's no cramming needed the night before.
Sure.
Because you are prepared. You will at max be required, if it's a high stakes invigilated exam, you'll at max need 3 hours to prepare because you've already done all the precursor, you've participated throughout the semester. And the importance of the continuous participation is also around the knowledge having a moment to form with you. That you're not overwhelmed with an overload of information that doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
That when a relative complex assessment arrives, where it requires you to apply and think through it, that hasn't happened. That nurturing and settled it's also not being formed yet within you around the knowledge area or of the theory.
Yeah.
So, but not all summatives is high stakes. Let me also just say that because there's a fitness of purpose also. So it's not that all modules assess with a final exam that is invigilated and sit down and close book.
Yeah.
That type of assessment, which I regard as the highest staked form of assessment, is only applied where it's fit for purpose in a program. So the practical example is, to become a chartered accountant, the board exams is extremely rigorous and it's a long duration, it's a 2-3 day event going through a series of high stakes, complex assessments. If that's not mimicked in the undergraduate journey, by the time you arrive there, you're also not prepared for it.
Yeah.
So now the undergraduate journey mimics what is required later. If, an extreme example, as an event manager, high stakes assessments are now less and they are more around areas where it's fit for purpose, where the other elements are craft-based, project-based, because it mimics the work that's going to be expected of you.
Yes.
Yes, there's still the other elements because there's an academic element, if it's within a diploma, that rigor is also built.
Sure.
But all I'm sharing is to say there's a combination. So there's no fear of the traditional national senior certificate endgame is the high stakes exams. I think I've come a bit serious across around assessments. Sure. It is to a level to be understood as it is serious, because assessment is an indication you're going to be awarded a grade, and from the grade we're hopefully going to certificate you with the award, and that's the right and privileges to say you are a holder of a bachelor's degree or higher certificate. But there's also fun around assessments.
Right.
It doesn't sound like it, but there is. Because the part of the fun is, if you go through the learning journey, you do your readings, and you can do your readings anywhere because you have your physical book. So without making it strange, you can read anywhere in your home. You can read anywhere where you have time off. You can log into the learning management system at any point in time. Our learning management system we receive very favorable feedback from students it's around 9 semesters now, around the use of the learning management system, its availability, its functionality, its intuitiveness, and especially around the availability, we have around a 99.9% server uptime. So it's literally available 24/7,
Right.
that you can log in, do the readings, watch the videos, see the assessments coming, and then going through the moments and creating great projects and bringing yourself to bear and your experiences in your assignments and in your research, in your projects, which is a bit fun. It doesn't sound like it, it can be.
Sure.
Because it's not all about a singular exam at the end.
Yeah.
The higher ed journey is not crafted, and it should not be, because it's about teaching and learning.
Yeah.
But you learning things and then demonstrating at the moment of a formative or summer assessment.
I know what I'm doing.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I also think as adults, we've got to approach it with this. We've got to approach it with that taste of, it's a part of my teaching and learning. It's a part of my process to get to the point where I am competent in X, Y, and Z. So, and I know it's easy for us to say, but as adults, we really got to take that mature look into it and say, you know what, this is why it exists for me. It exists as a valuable contribution to my process. And again, I know that it could sound a little bit patronizing as we're speaking, because we know that it can be tough, right? but I think we just, it's really important as an adult to look at it and say, from a maturity perspective, it's part of the process of learning about how to do that. And I think the important thing to remember is that life will do the same thing, not in its formal manner, but it will find ways in which to testify it can and I can't do this thing.
We're always at a formative moment. We're always at a summative moment.
Correct.
When you graduate, it was a summative moment, but it's a formative moment now into the next phase. We're continuously going through those cycles.
Yeah.
But part of taking the fear out of assessments and that it's about teaching and learning is also in a module. If we jump back into a module and into the teaching plan that outlays the detail for the 14, 15-week cycle, we also apply the principle of constructive alignment to setting our informal and formal, but especially our formal, formatives and summative assessments when we create them and standardize them. And that constructive alignment means, in a literal manner, we will only assess at the point what has come before.
Yes.
So that if the formative is in week 5 and 6, we will only assess week 1, 2, 3, and 4. And that's part of the principle of we're not setting you up for failure.
Correct.
We're not creating an event to determine how to flunk you out or to delight in how many have I managed to flunk out. That's not the objective.
Yeah.
The objective is to say this is the teaching path, this is the teaching objectives, this is the duration. At the end of this duration, this is what the sample will look like. Now you're afforded to showcase to us what you're competent, what have you mastered. And in that process, there's a comfort. The distance student can take comfort because that principle always applies. Similar to how the roster is set up, similar to how the timetable, everything is predictable. Because we, as the institution, want to be predictable. Your life, things will happen. And randomness will come and chaos will come and you'll fend them all off and you'll persevere in spite of all the challenges. But you know that because this is always predictable.
I love that.
You can just slot in and out during that process. That there's not an additional anxiety or us being the cause for you saying you're not able to. Because you guys just make it up as you go. So that to us is part of the key of the formative and summative assessments.
So we know that online assessments can be kind of tricky, but we've got your back. We're going to look at some expert strategies that are going to help you conquer online assessments, online exams, so that you can secure your future. I know I make it sound so like Sparta. Secure your future. I apologize, but tune in for episode 17.